Hello. I just got this War of mine recently, a couple of weeks ago, and I've been quite obsessed with it. Really enjoy the game. It's a very dour subject, but it's a great game. So what I'm going to do in this video is probably just do the setup. I may start the game. The reason I'm doing the setup is the one thing I don't like about the game is the rules. It's shocking, in my opinion. Some people find it great. It does say right at the start, during a playthrough, after setup, you'll go through a full day and night cycles divided into 7 phases, as described in the journal, which it does. You do not have to know all of the rules to begin this experience. Yeah, I found it tricky. I ended up looking at a playthrough to work out how to set the game up. Once you've set it up, you've got everything going, yeah, it's not a difficult game at all to play. So I'm going to do the setup as I do it. Possibly not. It does explain it here. When I say as I do it, I do it in a different order. I don't mean I do it differently. So let's start. And I'll talk a little bit about the games I'm going. So let's start with the dice. Yeah, I just tend to put them on the sides here. Just ready. We've got the noise marker, which goes down here. That's important when you're scavenging in the night phase locations. All this will become apparent in the playthrough. These question marks, they're different residents. So they tend to be when you're in combat that you get these, although not always, but they go out of the way. I'm a bit of a coward in my games and don't tend to. I'm going to put them off to the side for the moment until we need it. I will say as well, I've played the game 4 times, I think, and I've lost 4 times. It's split into 3 chapters. I've never got to chapter 2 yet. Oh, sorry, I've got to chapter 2, but I've never finished chapter 2, so I've never gone to the 3rd chapter. So you may not see a playthrough right to the end of the game as it should be. So we've got the box is very good, the way it's set out with the cards. When I was looking at it, I did doubt that it would work in that way, but it isn't. So the colours, just fold them up, they just go in onto there. Visitors, we've talked a little bit about, I just said about visitors and residents. Sorry, residents tend to be, I'm going to confuse people if I start talking about it too much, but visitors tend to be to your house, of which this is. Residents tend to be in the night phase. The events side, I will do that in a moment. I'm just going to do certain bits, the easier bits first. Narrative actions, shuffle those up a little bit. They're already shuffled, but again. So what else have we got? We've got your characters. So we do need to select some characters to start. That's part of the setup, but I tend to leave that till last. So for now, let's just put the characters on there. Findings, go down here. Again, all this bit down here is your evening bit, the house here, which you'll see once I move these are part of your house, which I'll do once I've gone through the box a little bit, because I'm going to have to move the box off to one side, so I want to explain what's what. Night raids, what you do need to do is take all these out with a little exclamation mark, because they don't go in initially. They get added as the game goes on. So I'm putting those to one side for now. Put those over, shuffle them around a bit. Night raids are an absolute killer. That's what normally finishes me off. You'll find when you're playing this game, you're juggling so many things. Some blank tokens, they do come into play as part of the scripts book. What the game comes with is a book of scripts. So, 1800, I think. No, it's short of 2000. And they add the flavour to game. They can be quite harrowing for a game. Yeah, there's one decision I had to make yesterday that you do feel torn. You find yourself coming back to. So yeah, some of those will ask you to add things. What I tend to do is put them on a separate piece of paper rather than mark the cards. Put them over to one side. Locations. Here's what you go into when you're scavenging. Exploration cards. Most of it's very straightforward because it drops onto whatever it says, but there are exceptions, like with the night raids where you take certain ones out, and it's the same with the residence cards. They also, a lot of them have these little exclamation marks, not explanation. That come in as the game progresses. So these go off to one side. And these are shuffled. And go down here. The objectives, you have various objectives for each chapter. The final objective is always the same. That's actually, I keep doing this wrong. Well, not wrong as such, but I keep sorting the objectives out before, but the first chapter tells you to sort the objectives out. So I'm just going to leave them there, and you'll see, possibly in this video, if not, it'll be in the next one. What happens there? Fate cards. The fate deck. And then we've got fittings and ideas, which the fittings are what are available straight away for you to try and build. So building a bed is an important one, and building a heater, workshop, rainwater collector. You're allowed to flick through these at any time because you can build them subject to having the right equipment. Then they have various things. So in a bed, you can use an action to take a nap, lower fatigue by 2. So we'll talk about those as the game goes on. So those can be built straight away. These are the same, a little bit more complex, but and as you see, as you turn them over, they've got various effects. But these are not available, and there is an action in the game. Again, you will see it to go to a new idea. So you take 2 cards from the ideas deck and you put them into the fittings deck so that you can build them at some point. So that's the cards set up. Apart from these and those, these here are things that affect your character. I should talk about these because I think the characters are going to have to be off to the side over here, so you're not going to see them constantly in the game, although I will keep swiveling to them. But each character in theory has 3 actions. Now, there's various things that can happen. Wounds, illness, hunger, fatigue and misery are the things that affect them. If they haven't got any of those, because you can be on 0, you're fine. Say you're at level 1 hunger, you still get your 3 actions. At level 2 hunger, you drop down to 2, and it varies for each one, but as you can see, fatigue there. Wounds, if you get down to 3 wounds, you can take no actions. And if you get to 4 on any of them, you go to a script epilogue, which your character's either dead or left the house. And let me just speak a little bit about this. So, let me have a wounds 2 I want to see. So, if the only marker he's got on him, your character is that, he's got 3 actions that he can take. If he's on hunger 2, he can only take 2 actions because one's blacked out. So he's got both of those 2. He can still take 2 actions because it's down to the lowest denominator. They're not, you don't add up that one and that one. He can still take 2 actions. Now, if he's in this position, he can only take one action because his wounds restrict him to one action. So I hope that makes sense. You'll see it as the game goes on anyway. And with that, again, one action, that's all he gets. So that's these. These are your base resources. That's water, that's mechanical component, and that's wood. This is your storage area down here. You also have a storage area here because the wooden components, it's just because you can end up, you don't very often end up with a lot, but you can. So you can put one in there and that's 5 wood. Just make things easier. All the other things, your resources, the grey ones tend to be mechanical, electrical, practical things, saw blade, there is a guitar in there. These are your health ones, bandages, meds, chems. This is food, plus cigarettes, alcohol, coffee. And these are red is your weapons. They must be for another, I've not used those. There is another scenario in the game that I've not used yet. Cold tokens, they're not good, they go there. Makes it harder for you. And I hope you will notice I have painted I don't normally paint miniatures, but I felt compelled to with these. I'm quite pleased with how they've turned out. So yeah, we'll come to those in a moment. The other thing is you are limited with these. So for instance, there are 3 books available. If your 3 books are already in storage, you can't have any more. So you're limited by what's on it. And there are certain events that ask you to remove things from the game completely. So there's a difference in the game with cards and everything of discarding something and removing it. Because when it's removed, it's gone from the game for good. And they do provide you with a couple of clear bags and just say put everything in there. I don't tend to do that, but I move them out of the way. So we've got that. So I'm going to move, you've seen this, I'm going to move it off the table now. It will be to one side, just can't fit it on, basically, but I will bring it back as and when I need to. Let's do the furniture. These are the fittings, so I'll talk a little bit about the house in a minute. So these are different things on them. Randomly put them. There's furniture there, furniture down here. The red ones means you can't automatically get through them. So your closed door, you need to pick lock, rubble, you need a shovel or 2 people. The rubble there. Ooh. They all have, like the furniture ones will have slightly different things underneath, and that's why I'm randomly putting them. Yeah, there's another closed door. There. Rubble, rubble, rubble. There. Heat there. And another furniture somewhere. There. Now, when you're moving about the house, you can move anywhere that's not blocked. So you keep your characters here as we put them, and it's not taking an action isn't moving from one to another. If you can get to it, you can get to it. So for instance, you can walk across here straight up there, and you can go to these 2 heaps, but you can't get up to that floor because of the rubble. You can't go there because of the door. The rubble's blocking that area. And you can't go down into this bit to get that furniture because of the bars. The holes also block things as well. So if you cleared all that, you can't get from there to there. And a way, somebody mentioned, I'm actually looking. Similarly, is when you can always go to here to place the fittings, which is to build the fitting, and then you place it somewhere in one. But you can place it there. You can actually also place it where the ladders are as well, as long as it's cleared. And this, which comes as a save sheet for if you can't leave the game up, actually shows you where you can build as long as it's clear. So so it shows you can build on the ladders. So as long as those areas are cleared of the card that's on them at the time. So you can't build, if I look at there, you can't build there, you can't build there, and you can't build on these. So that's where you can't build, where they're shaded out. And similarly, that shows you where you can get to. These are the holes which you can board up. I've never actually been in a position where I could board them up, but they help against the cold and against night raids if you can do that. So yeah, I don't tend to use that for the save sheet, but it's useful when you're first learning the game. So we've now got what we've got to do. We've got to do the you have ending events there. You have normal events. Then you have chapter 1, 2, and 3. So just put that on top of there. I forgot about those down. First thing you do is they shuffle the 3 ending event cards. You only get 3 of them anyway, so they're all going in the pack. And this is the bottom of your deck. So once you've got to the end of them, end of the game. You then place the chapter 3 card, which I've never seen yet, so I don't know what's on that card, onto there. You then, after the 3, you randomly draw 4 event cards. So 4 event cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. They go on top of that. Then chapter 2 goes next. And then you draw 3 more event cards. 3. And go on there. And finally, the chapter 1 card goes on top of that. And that, the rest of your event cards, they are not used in the game anymore, so they're out of the way now. There you go. So finally, we haven't done the locations either. So we draw 3 location cards. So we've got a hotel, a ruined villa, and a central square. Central square is good for trading. Let's get food in the villa, might be food in the hotel. I've not had the hotel before, so I don't know what that is. These change as you go along as cards are drawn. Again, you'll see. And finally, we have the characters. One thing I didn't show you is each character. You can have up to 4. You start with 3 characters, but you can end up with up to 4. Just, with the characters, you start with 2 blue characters and 1 red character. So if I draw one, well, I'll talk about it. So the first one is Katya, which is she's a blue character. You'll see the red ones as they come out. So Katya's a reporter. Her special power, such as when trading with Katya present, trade commission is lowered to 0, so that's quite good. Spirit I'll talk about. Inventory is how much you can carry when you're out scavenging. Empathy is how much you're affected when something bad happens. Prowess is how good you are in combat. So let's get her character. And there's Katya. We can see my excellent painting skills there. So what I'm going to do is press that into there. And she goes on the guard. They all go on the guard space. That green token will stay there, just so we know, we can easily identify who she is. Each character as well starts with level 2 hunger. So first turn, you'll surmise from what we're talking about, they can only take 2 actions, all the characters. So I'm going to move that off to the side. And I'll come back to that at regular times, just so that you can see what's going on with these characters. Let's have a look at character 2. We've got Amelia, another blue character. She's a lawyer. At the beginning of the dawn phase, Amelia may raise her fatigue by any amount to lower her misery by the same amount, so a trade-off. Empathy 3. So she doesn't have a lot of empathy for people, which perversely is a good thing in this game. Catcher was a 7, which as a reporter. Prowess is 1, which is not bad for combat. And her journal, at the beginning of the dawn phase, Amelia may raise her fatigue by any amount to lower her misery by the same amount. Have I just spoken about that? Just like deja vu. Have I just said that twice? I think anyway. I'm going mad. Sorry about that. Inventory 3, so she can carry up to weight 3. And let's get her character. So that's Amelia. There's one character I meant to look up because I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I'm hoping that one doesn't get drawn out. So I don't think it will, because we need a red character next. So that's Amelia. She goes there. She's blue. So let's put that over there. And the third one, I want a red one. So if not, we'll have to... Ah, yeah. So you can see how the card's different. Marco was a firefighter. Prowess is 2, which is really good. Empathy 5, which is medium. Inventory 5, so he can carry a lot, so it's good to go out scavenging. Breaking. Marco may use a hatchet to open closed doors as if he was using a lockpick. That's useful because when you open a door with a lockpick, the lockpick is discarded, it's gone. So that's Marco. And there's Marco's character. Apologies, you can't see it really with the sun. I'll probably close the curtains for the next play of this. Shouldn't be moaning about the sun because we haven't had much of it recently. But so he goes on the yellow square. Marco goes off to one side. Oh, we need hunger 2 on each of those as well, which I'll we'll leave them like that. Let's just turn across so you can see those over there. I'll bring them back into play as and when so you can see what's going on. But the main part is the board itself. We're 22 minutes in. I'm just wondering, oh, what's the other one thing we haven't done? You do start with some items. So we have a shovel and a lockpick. The shovel can be used more than once, which you use that for digging through rubble, so that goes in storage. And then the lockpick can only be used once, and you can fail to open a lock as well, so it's not guaranteed. So they're the tools that you start with. You start with 4 of the metal components and 4 wood items. So there you go down here. So there's your 4 wood, 4 components, 2 water, which straight away we haven't got enough water because at the end of the day we need to water. Give each of these a drink. There's not enough, so hopefully we can find some before. What we have got is raw food, which isn't the best. You have 3 types of food. You have vegetables, you have raw food, and canned food, and you can guess which is best. I don't think there's any other type. No. So that is the setup. What I'm actually going to do is we're 25 minutes in, so I'm going to start with chapter 1, because when you turn chapter 1 over, you deal with the objectives part. It tells you how to do the objectives. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to call that a day, and then we'll come back to turn 1. So chapter 1. When the Civil War broke out, many people thought it would only last a couple of weeks. It's been a year since the military surrounded the rebels in the capital, cutting off all supply lines. The civilians still trapped in the city suffer from hunger, disease and the constant threat of shelling. It's another day of desperate waiting for the end of this terrible war. Determine the objectives for each of the 3 chapters of the campaign. So we find a final objective card, there is only one, in the objective deck, and place it on the objective space on the board. Then draw 2 more objective cards and place them on the final objective. These cards should be placed face up and you may look at them any time during the game. Remove the remaining objective cards from the game. At the end of each chapter, resolve any reward or penalty from the corresponding objective card. After determining the objectives, draw the top event card. And after we resolve this card, we remove it from the game. So I'm just going to leave it there because when I come back to the proper playthrough, I'll just discard it. So what we've got here then is the final objective card, which basically is survive. Equal to or less than 2. I didn't realise that fatigue is ignored. So you've got to get it. So even if you get them survive and everything's not equal to or less than 2, you've still not won. So and the face up, because you can see these at any time. So we then have 2 more. So the next one I'm going to draw is the chapter 2 objective. Soldiers disarm the civilians. So at some point in chapter 2, we need to discard a functional firearm from storage. The reward is during one night raid phase, you don't draw a night raid card. And a penalty is you get a beating from the soldiers. So you distribute 3 wounds between characters. What I should say actually is, obviously there are some adult themes in this. So just a heads up, when you're doing the playthrough, some of the scripts may be of an adult nature about beatings and such like. So yeah, not suitable for kids. And also, if you're looking at buying the game, not suitable for young children. So we're going to turn, let's flip it again. We're going to take this one. So help the sick and wounded in our area. I don't like this one. At any moment, you may discard any number of meds or bandages without resolving their effects. For each discard a med or bandage, advance the object marker by 1. So we need to get to 3. And the reward is you lower all characters' misery by 2. And the penalty is an epidemic. Because you haven't helped the sick and wounded, everybody catches an illness. Oh, it raises. So there is an objective status marker. So that goes on the 0. So we put down there. Like I say, we can look at these anytime, but that's our first objective. I find it very difficult to get meds and bandages, so we had that before. So these are the ones discarded, they're out of the way. There we go. I'm going to stop it there. We're probably about half an hour in, are we? Yeah, nearly half an hour, because that's the setup itself. When we come back, we're going to start the playthrough. I'll discard that straight away. I'm just checking I've got everything. Yes, everything's set. And this is where, you know, I did slag off this, but it's very good for following to know where you are each time. So you do your morning, your day actions, your dusk, your evening, your scavenging, night raid, and then dawn. So, yeah, I wasn't happy. What it also does, it refers you, and I think some of the counter, so the day actions, see frequently asked questions on 300. Now, this is in the scripts, which I just found weird. You can go on Board Game Geek, you can see there the setup questions. They'd be better all together, but they're not. So, you see, day actions phase there. But you can go on Board Game Geek and there's files to download that just have them all together to make it easy. But as I say, once you've played the game once, it's very easy to play. And I have bought both expansions, which I don't know if I mentioned that before, which I haven't played yet. But, okay, so thank you for tuning on the setup. We'll come back and then we'll start with turn 1. Hopefully I can do better than I have in previous games.